Welcome back to the channel. I hope all of you had a great summer as everything's winding down. If any of you have kids, I feel for you. I, of course, only have one, and that makes my life hectic enough as we're trying to jam in another trip to Disney World, looking for properties in Florida. Things just get very hectic. But now Natalia's starting school, and I'm able to concentrate on other things, just like all of you. But I hope everything went well. In my case, as I sit here in the SV, I reflect upon that this is the last car I purchased. It was 2017 when I was able to obtain it, and I'm always looking for something that I want, and I just haven't seen anything. But a couple months ago, I saw an article that talked about the potential of the next P1 not having hybrid or electric technology. Now that excited me, so I touched base with my friend Robert at Lamborghini in Beverly Hills, who took care of me in the SV, which is also McLaren in Beverly Hills, and asked him if he could get me an allocation for the P1. And he, of course, said he would take care of it. That is a ways out. They're saying end of 2024 or 25. So I do have some time, and of course I have to keep my fingers crossed that it won't be hybrid. Those of you that know me know that I'm not a huge fan of hybrid or electric, and it's not because of the technology. It's because it is just out of my expertise. I really can't work on it. And many of my friends, like JC, that are genius level people that have worked on them, they're very, very difficult. So without having huge technical support, it could make life very difficult. And someone like me who keeps their cars for quite some time, once that time lapses where the technicians aren't trained at the dealership, if I have something major go wrong, it could be a real pain. Which circles us around to what many of you have asked me is, why did I not get a new NSX? Or am I going to get a new NSX? Well, as I've said from the beginning, the hybrid technology is a concern of mine. Also, I was hoping that they were going to make a Type R version, potentially without the hybrid in it. Well, a couple weeks ago, I was lucky enough that two of the people that were with me from the beginning of my career from Honda, John Yoshinaga and Stony Furatani, came to the shop and actually visited me and hung out for a while. They again asked a question. But as many of you know, when you talk to someone who is very important and very high up in the company, it is important to ask them the right questions. They shared some very bad news with me. They were the ones that actually told me initially that Honda was working on a program to refurbish NSX in Ohio, in the same location that they make the new NSX. Now, the exciting part for me was they would start running parts again. That way there'd be some availability. Well, when they were here, they told me that that is not going to happen. Now, things could always change, but it just all comes down to looking at everything that they had on their plate. They wanted to do something else, which I'm sure doesn't surprise a lot of you. But it does make things even more difficult, as they told me from the inside that parts are now going to be even more difficult. And a lot of my friends are reporting a lot of problems fixing these things. So their advice to me was, don't drive mine. I'm sure that's not what all of you wanted to hear, but probably plan ahead on having a more difficult time getting parts. So when they were here, I asked them, is there going to be a Type R? Or is there going to be a version that is just forced induction with no hybrid assist? Their answer was no. What I probably should ask is, are you going to continue making the NSX for just as long as the first generation? And will there be any other type of special edition? That would be my fault. So, of course, I took off with the girls to Disney World. And while I was sitting in line to ride the Millennium Falcon, I noticed that in the news feed that all of a sudden the NSX Type S is coming, which was huge news. And just the pictures I saw, I was like, oh man, that is incredible looking. Well, then on top of that, as I'm looking, the article said that that is it. The last version. They're only going to make 350 worldwide, 300. I mean, that was shocking to me because, as most of you know, the original NSX ran for such a long time. I figured that there was such a huge capital investment by Honda they'd run it for just as long with the second generation. But that was my bad in assuming that, and I didn't ask the right questions when they were here. So immediately I called JC because he was actually in Pebble Beach where they debuted it. And of course, with my luck, he told me it was incredible. And from the pictures, it looked that way. After JC speaking so highly of the Type S, I still had the issue of the hybridization. So my next call was to my good friend George Kudo, who is Mr. NSX at Honda, where I was able to kind of talk to him about my situation. And he also concurred that it did not look at all possible that I would be able to obtain an NSX without the hybridization in it. But he brought something to my attention. He told me that he would gladly help me with the car to keep it running and also teach me how to work on it. Now, you can't even put a price on that. And also, he would set up a Honda computer that would allow me to talk to the car. These are actually my main concerns. And the greatest part is that I can learn from the best of the best on how the hybridization works, which was really exciting. Now that changed everything for me. Whether or not it's a regular second generation NSX or a Type S, one thing that is for certain is the car is exclusive. I mean, there just aren't a lot of them. If you look at the first NSX in its production run, which I believe is around 15 years, they sold somewhere near 16,000 of these worldwide. Okay, now if you look at the new NSX, from what I can tell, they estimate they're going to sell around 2,000, including the Type S. You take that, and what is in the US, 1,600 cars? That's fairly incredible. So one thing that's very cool about the NSX, removing the argument of its disadvantages or advantages within the competition, it's a very exclusive car. It would appear that I've covered everything that needs to be done. Of course, the biggest hurdle of how to work on it seemed to be covered. The car itself checked all the right boxes. Exclusivity, only 350 made. It's upgraded. The GT3 turbos from the NSX race car. Faster. It's just the way to go. Now, as I look at my car here, it's the original. And I would have to have one. Of course, I'd hoped to be a Type R, but it is what it is. So the next step was to see if I could obtain one of these. And that required another call to Honda. The great news is that I was able to get an allocation, as allocations seem to be very, very few and far between, at least where I can find. I'm sure if you guys are interested, you'll be much more resourceful than I, but it is quite exciting. You know, we go back to this, my original dream car. It just wouldn't seem right that I didn't have the second generation in my collection, and I really do like the look of the Type S. I mean, I like the look of the second generation, but boy, the Type S for me is just over the top. It checks all the right boxes. I love having a car that's limited edition, as all of you know, and it's pretty amazing. And I'll tell you something even more crazy. I'm super excited because I may be able to work with Honda on the project to make it unique to myself. And I've never even driven one. I didn't want to drive one. Here's the reason why. I figured even the normal second generation, if I drove it, I'd probably want it. And that was probably the best call. I would have liked to have tried the Type S and gone to Honda and looked at it closer, but time was of the essence. Once they announced it was coming out, boy, allocations were disappearing really fast. So I just had to suck it up and secure one. Here's a look at the Type S order form. It's fairly interesting and straightforward, but the base price of the car is $169,500. For me, not a bad deal for what you get in all the technology. Then as you look along there, you'll see that I of course chose the Indy Yellow Pearl. If there was the option to paint to sample, I would probably go with Ferrari Yellow. Going down the line, I've got black interior, no charge there. The Alcantara Standard, also what a bargain, no charge. The wheels, 5-spoke, matte finish, no charge there. Then you come to the lightweight package. Now for me, it is a necessity because I'm obsessed with weight, as many of you know. But we can see right there that that option shows that you can get red brake calipers in my case, the carbon fiber engine cover and interior, and that comes at the bargain price of $13,000. Now, many of you remember Porsche used to charge just $15,000 just for the carbon ceramic upgrade, so to me that doesn't seem way out of line. Although I will mention that I do wish that the calipers did come in yellow to match the body, but there just aren't a lot of options like you would find in some of the other high-end cars. And then there is a technology package that there is no charge for. Oh, then you can see that there's just some listings for brakes, engine cover, and interior. If you don't take the lightweight package, you can customize that. The technology package gives you the ELS Studio and Tech. I opted not to add the Sirius satellite radio because I don't really like the look of the satellite antenna. Destination handling standard 1995. That puts the MSRP of my Type S at $185,495. Now for me, comparing all the other cars that I have here, that would be a good deal. Other people, such as Drew, would disagree and say that that's way too much. But putting everything together, and I'm not just weighing performance, exclusivity, the entire package, the heritage of the NSX, and not to mention my love for the car, it's well worth it. The question is, will my opinion change when the car lands? Now, undoubtedly the question comes to mind, is this a good choice for me? Well, I guess we're not going to know actually until the car comes and I drive it, but let's take a little bit of an evaluation here. So we have the SV 6.5 liter V12 naturally aspirated. That's probably my top choice. But is that a fair assessment? Well, probably not, because I've never experienced a hybrid situation. Now, if you talk to Abel and JC, both of them are huge fans of hybrids, but for not the reason you would think. They both have Volts, and both have recommended that I get one. However, ground clearance on the farm of a Volt versus my Raptor might be a little bit of a situation. But as far as the SV, being the last car I purchased, single clutch car. I mean, I've driven the 720S with a dual clutch. I'm not really a dual clutch guy, but the NSX checks all the other boxes. And the bottom line is, it's just really exciting. Will it be a letdown? Probably not. I can't say that for sure until I drive it, but as you know, I assess every car for how they are. And this car is very different than every other car. So when I get in the NSX, that's kind of the mindset I have of that type of experience. But either way, it'll be one heck of a ride. Well, my friends, I'm going to take out the SV and kind of absorb that into my mind as I prepare for what's coming around the corner. And for all of you, I hope you have a great weekend. See you next time.